Hey guys, welcome back to the DrCliffAuD vlog. This is vlog number 60, and before I get into the topic of today's vlog, I want to remind you to go back and watch last week's vlog if you haven't already. So vlog number 59 was my video walkthrough of the new clinic. And the reason you should go back and watch that video first is because everything that we're talking about today has to do with the budget, or the lack of sticking to a budget, that had to do with that particular clinic. So go back and watch that one and then come right back to this one. But for the rest of you, what we're going to be talking about, in fact, is the budget and the fact that we did not stick to the budget on that. Some of it was our fault, some of it was not necessarily our fault. But I'm going to kind of go into the money side of everything. So buckle up, here we go. To give you an understanding, if you are just kind of joining this late, about a year and 3 or 4 months ago, we ended up purchasing a gray shell space. So it was built in, I think it was like 2004. It had never been built out. So it was just a gray shell, empty space. You could do whatever you want with it on the north end of Phoenix. And after a lot of consideration, we decided to actually purchase that space and get a loan for the construction cost of building it out to be the new Applied Hearing Solutions clinic. And it was great. Like, everything was going great, except for, we ran into some issues with the seller, not necessarily the nicest guy in the world. It is what it is. We ended up closing on that space at the end of 2019. And we ended up getting construction going actually pretty quick after that. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, shoot, COVID happened in 2020, and did that interfere with the build out of your new space? And actually, COVID had nothing to do with us having delays at our new space. At least I don't believe it had any significant impact on the delay of our new space. A lot of it had to do with the contracting work and the architecture and all that stuff that we ran into roadblocks with. And if you want to get caught up to speed on all of that, you can go back and start watching all of the vlogs that I started, 60 some weeks ago at this point. But what I want to do right now is actually kind of give you a recap of what we were initially buying the building for, what our construction loan was going to be, and then how much we were going to be paying in down payment. And then I'm going to go into all of the additional costs that were not inside of the loan that Ashley had to cover, Ashley and I had to cover out of pocket. So here we go. This is I'll tell you, this is somewhat of an uncomfortable video to do because I am going to be sharing a lot of big dollar amounts and a lot of debt and stuff like that. But I think it's important to get this information out there so you guys actually understand what goes into doing a space like the one that we just created. So if we go back to the actual cost of the 2,300 square foot space, that was around $291,000 just for the gray shell there. And I actually think that that was a pretty good price considering that we are closer to Phoenix. It's a very, very good location in terms of access roads from the highway system. So the 101 wraps all the way around the valley. The 51 cuts north and south. So people can get to our clinic pretty easily no matter where they live in the valley. And then the amount that we had figured on for the amount of build out was $260,000. So $260,000 is what was going to be the loan amount for building out the entire space. So actually, after we purchased the building space, all of the construction materials, all of that, the contracting work, architect, all of that was going to go into building out the location. So $260,000. At the end of the day, if you add up kind of these numbers, and I'll share this here, I'll actually link it as well, but I will share this in some kind of overlay over here, that $560,000 or so was the total amount of money that was going to be put into this location to buy the space and to build it out. And, early on, we had a lot of delays. I mean, it was, I think, March timeframe, which is only like a month after we started construction. March timeframe, we put a halt to everything, and it was halted for like months because the architect had messed up the layout measurements, the contractor didn't catch it. I was the one to catch the mistakes inside of the space, and so instead of continuing on, we just said, pause everything, we're not moving forward until we figure out the remedy for this. And at that point, Ashley and I decided to enlist the help of a lawyer to make sure, like a construction lawyer, to make sure that we didn't do anything incorrectly, and if we had to get legal involved, and suing people and stuff like that, then that's what we were going to have to do in order to get the space done. They ended up recommending, the lawyer ended up recommending that we get in touch with a construction management company. And so we ended up contracting their help. But when you start looking at the numbers here, the lawyer cost us around $3,500, and the construction management company, with them kind of going in and kind of figuring out what went wrong and kind of creating a solution to the problem, that cost us an additional $6,000. So we're looking at almost 10 grand there that we had to spend out of pocket, because this was not built into the loan, that we had to spend out of pocket in order to get their help. The other thing that I didn't mention, in addition to the down payment, so we had a $86,000 down payment on this $560,000 purchase. And we also had to put up some money to get the permits, the initial payment to a contractor, and initial payment to the architect before we even got the loan. And that came out to around $35,000. So when you start adding all of these numbers up, I mean, we're already into over $100,000 of money out of our pocket. So, dipping into the savings, of course, in order to pay that. Now, I don't want to come across as ungrateful here. I definitely feel like I am a privileged individual. I was able to go through grad school, undergrad, and have that all get paid for by either the federal government because of my military service or the state of Illinois, which I am very thankful for the state of Illinois and them having an Illinois Veterans Grant to pay for 4 years of tuition at any Illinois state school. So that helped out a lot. If I had a couple $100,000 in student loan debt, like most audiologists come out of school with, then it would be a much trickier situation and probably would not have purchased a space at this point in time, as I would be paying off my couple $100,000 in student loans. So I don't want to come across as ungrateful. I am very grateful for everything that I have, that me and Ashley have worked really hard for. So that out of the way, let's get back to how much money we ended up spending on this space. So at that point, I mean, we're already $100,000 in, and we were kind of chewing through the amount. So what happens is they don't disperse all of the money to you for the construction portion of the loan up front. So they disperse the amount to buy the space, and then they give it kind of like in little chunks based on what the contractor has done with the space. And so every time they do something, they submit their invoices. The banker basically issues a check to the contractor. So none of the money actually crosses our hands, mine or Ashley's hands. And we were, going through that loan amount, and then it started getting to the point where we realized, oh boy, okay, with all the mistakes and the corrections and the delays and all of that happened, there's going to be a portion of this that's going to be out of pocket for us. Now, I don't think that everything was due to this idea that things were delayed and we had mistakes, because there were definitely improvements and upgrades above and beyond what we had originally budgeted for at the very beginning of this whole process. So a lot of what we additionally had to pay out of pocket was in fact because we just wanted some nicer things that we didn't know what they initially cost. It was just an estimate, and those estimates came in under what they actually were going to cost. The thing that really killed us to a large degree was that all of the electrical that had been done, we're talking like 30 grand worth of electrical work that had been done over with the previous contractor was wrong, and we had to pay like an additional 30 grand to get it fixed. So we're just talking like 30 grand was paid by our lender, and we had to have that all redone. And so the lender wasn't going to pay for that. And even if they did, it would just taken away from the budget somewhere else. So we had to basically foot an additional, $30,000 for the electrical work there, if I recall correctly. So it is what it is. But, on top of, okay, back to where we started. When we got through to the point where there was no loan money left, it was like, we just have to pay for this. Like, there's no way around it. If you want to get the space done, guess what? You just have to dip into every savings bit that you have and make the payments. If that means dipping into retirement, you dip into retirement in order to pay for the place to get completed, because we needed a finished space to go and start working in. The fortunate thing is it could have been way worse with COVID. You know, the whole COVID thing, there was a point in time where we're like, boy, did we just make really, really bad decisions? We bought this place, so the place that we live, we bought like in mid-March. We moved in mid-March and signed the closing documents in mid-March, and we're like, boy, was that a huge mistake? Because COVID, we had just started the whole shutdown process of the whole economy, and we're like, boy, we're going to go bankrupt at this point. And on top of that, we had already purchased the new office space. So we had both of these mortgages, and we didn't know if we were going to have any revenue coming in really over the course of the whole year. The PPP loan helped, and you guys saw me talking about that as well earlier in the vlog, back when I started this vlog. But that was a very stressful time because we didn't know how much money we would have to help build this whole thing out. Fortunately, it worked out. We were only closed for a little while. It took a little while to kind of get things back up to the point where we were cranking along again, and the PPP money helped as well to kind of keep things going. But you know, there was a point in time where we didn't know really if we were gonna make it, you know, financially. So fast forward again, back to the point, which was only a couple months ago when we just totally ran out of money. We were done. There was no loan money left. We were dipping into our pockets, and I'm going to kind of run through a list of all of the other things that we had to pay. And the first one on there is a $40,000 contractor payment. So we ended up getting a really good contractor, did a very good job with the space, come in, kind of everything's a mess. They had to like rally and get everything back up and running again. So that cost an additional $40,000. That's out of pocket because they were already being paid by the loan money up to a certain point when the loan money ran out. The computer company that had to come in and do all the wiring of the space to make sure that we had Ethernet and all of that kind of dropped in the right spaces. We have accent marble, so that marble countertop right when you walk in. We had to foot the bill for about almost, what, $9,600 for them. And thank goodness they fixed everything the way that we wanted it, because there was a point where we're like, shoot, are we going to have to go somewhere else and spend another 20 grand to get it redone because this company just sucks so bad? That was a real, we were close to that point, which would have added another 10 grand onto this ending number that I'm going to be sharing with you. We had to buy different chairs for the office. That was about $800. We had the film that went on the glass and the film that went on the windows to prevent a lot of that heat transfer, and that was like 4 grand to do the film, which is, I mean, that's a good chunk of money. The blinds, so all 3 of the blinds, thank goodness Ashley found those blinds online that were the right sizes for a good price. Those were only $1,000. I think she got quoted like 5 grand to have 3 sets of blinds put in the space, which is absolutely crazy if you ask me. And they do actually a really good job. They look really nice, I think. Let's see, the trash cans for the space was like $600 to put like a trash can in every single room. The cabinet pulls, so on top of the cabinets themselves, we had to spend an additional $268 on the pulls, like the handles on those cabinets. And the faucets cost us $445. The grab bars, so there's 3 grab bars in each restroom, one behind the toilet, one next to the toilet that's horizontal, and one next to the toilet that's vertical. So that's 6 total bars, and that cost almost $1,200 for 6 bars. It's crazy. Now, we did want the modern looking ones, so I mean, you kind of pay for what you want, I guess, but that still seems like a lot. The toilets themselves, now the toilets are pretty cool because they are like jet-powered toilets. I mean, they just like, they force water through there, and it's absolutely crazy. It sounds like a jet taking off. But those combined were $835. The mirrors, so that mirror kind of in the back wall above the CapTel and a caption called telephones, that one, plus all of the chairs throughout the whole space, I think we spent, it was $4,200 for all of that. And then for the signage, the logo that went behind the reception desk, and for all of like the window like decals, like the vinyl decals on there of Applied Hearing Solutions and our name and our phone number and all of that, that ended up costing $3,800. So the only other thing that I've left out at this point are the interest payments, because before you close on the entire loan, which we're about to do here like this week, you end up making interest payments only. And it started off because we only had the loan for the building and then a few disbursements of the build-out loan money. But you have an arrangement, or we had an arrangement where until the project is completed, you just make interest payments on the amount of money that you've borrowed. So you're not actually contributing to principal yet. And so that way, it started off like $700 a month. And then like right now, the interest only payments are like $1,700 a month. And that's before, any payment is going towards the principal of the loan. And so over the course of the year, that was roughly about $12,000 that we just made in interest payments before we even ever moved in. And when you kind of look at these numbers, there's some of these are relatively staggering in a way. But just to do the math here real quick, if you were to add up everything, including the down payment that we initially paid, the total out-of-pocket expense, so this was money that Ashley and I had to figure out a way to come up with in order for this entire project to get completed, was just under $213,000. So almost $250,000 came out of our pocket in order to get this project done, both from a down payment side and everything else that wasn't included in the loan. But the loan amount that we have remaining is around $474,000. So if we basically take the 474, let me do some quick math here on this Excel sheet that I have. Okay, so if you add everything up, so we're talking the amount of money that we paid out of pocket and the loan amount that we still have to pay, the total cost of this space is around $687,000. Now, obviously that does not include the amount of interest that's going to be accruing as we pay this off over the next who knows how many years. This place will end up costing us probably more like $1.2 million, I'm guessing, or somewhere around there if we take the full amount of time to pay it off. What I'm hoping is that we'll pay it off sooner. Ashley and I have something in common. We have a lot of things in common, but the one thing that we really have in common is that we hate debt. We hate having debt. It's bad enough having a mortgage on our house. We don't like that. We ended up getting a decent interest rate because of over the course of the year, the Fed lowered the interest rate, but we have this huge loan, $474,000 that we have to end up paying off with the bank in order to own all of our space outright. Now we kind of have it structured to where Applied Hearing Solutions, so the clinic is actually paying rent to Olson Commercial Investments, which is our LLC that actually houses the office space. But still then, the money goes to there and then it just ends up going back to the bank to make the payments with a little bit of a buffer in case something happens. And then of course we have tax payments and all that other stuff that we have to make as well. So this is definitely not a light financial decision to purchase this building. Now, at the end of the day, do I think it's going to be worth it? Yeah, I mean, it's already been worth it. I mean, it's been very enjoyable now that we're done to go into our new space knowing that it's ours and we have every little detail that we wanted in there. It's pretty much the way that we want it, and that's rewarding, and I think that that's worth it, and it was ultimately worth the money as of right now. If something happens economically to where we have shutdowns or just something like it goes bad, people decide they don't want to treat their hearing loss anymore, or whatever the case may be. I mean, there's risk associated with investing this much money, and basically I'm just investing it in my career and in my staff, really. Because if we don't stay open, if we don't, generate revenue by giving people an outstanding experience when they come into our clinic, we'll never pay this loan back. And so what I'm hoping is that, I don't need any additional motivation to do a really good job for my patients at the clinic. So I don't think that is going to be an issue. The only issue would be if something happens outside of my realm of control, which would be illness, health-related things, or whatever. And so I'm just, crossing my fingers that nothing bad happens to kind of derail what we're trying to do at the new clinic. But it is, now that I'm basically saying it right now, I do think that this was all worth it. If you asked me 6 months ago if it was all worth it, I probably would have said no. But even then, I knew that at some point, I just had to keep the faith that we were going to get this clinic done. And I know that we're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt with it. I know that we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars out of pocket to get it to the point where we could actually move into it. But I think if you ask me in 30 years, was it worth it? I would tell you most likely, hands down, absolutely it was. Because the one thing that I remember from a lot of conversations with other audiologists, chiropractors, dentists, other medical professionals, is they said all of them had a common theme. If they owned their building, they said that was the best decision they ever made. And the ones that I talked to that had worked for 20, 30 years in their profession, and did not own their clinic space, they said the one thing they wish they would have done is buy the space if and when they had the opportunity to. So I definitely value the opinions of individuals who've been around longer than I have and who have more experience than I have. And so I kind of heeded that advice here relatively early on in my career. And I'm just fortunate to be in a position to be able to do this. I'm fortunate to have found a location that was actually affordable, because those spaces are not easy to come by. And I just think that, you know, it was just potentially some dumb luck. If you don't know the story about how I found that space, go back to vlog number 1, vlog number 2, and find out. But I've rambled on enough here, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and having me walk you through the financial craziness of buying this space. And I will, as always, guys, I'll see you next week.